There's no reason for you to count all 1,800 items of inventory because you bought something 5 years ago and it's still sitting on your inventory count. Chances are you're never going to use it. You're going to end up throwing it away. My favorite company that I ever saw in my entire life, huge company, well over 100. I think they're over 200 employees now. They had 442 items on their inventory sheet. That was it. Every single sign that they built had to be built with those 442 items. Genius. How many of you guys have visited another sign company and it looked like a pack rat? Hello, everybody. How we doing? Oh, it's good to be back in the podcast studio. I'll tell you what, it's good to talk and kind of help and share and all that fun stuff. But I got to tell you this one. Here's your public service announcement from me. I took my wife to Catalina. It's an island here off of Lower California, off of Los Angeles there. About an hour ferry ride over to Catalina. And we were like, you know what? Let's just unplug for the weekend. And the deal was when we got there, shut our phones off when we land on the ferry, and we're not allowed to turn our phones back on until we get back on the ferry to go back home. So we said, okay, let's do it. We shut the phones off, tucked them away. Man, it was so nice. It was so nice to unplug from technology. In fact, it was so nice to unplug from technology that at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, we said, hey, let's take a nap before we go out to dinner. We never woke up. We woke up at midnight. We looked at each other. We laughed. Within 5 minutes, we were back asleep. And we woke back up around 7, 8 o'clock. Apparently, you need that much sleep when you're running the helm, running too many companies, stressed out, can't think straight. You need to just recharge your batteries. So from my PSA to you, public service announcement for you guys, take some time for yourself. Shut your phone off completely. It's amazing. I'm not going to lie, for the first hour or two, it was a knee-jerk reaction to grab the phone and do something, anything. Check email, play a video game, get on social media, whatever. Your brain was so programmed. It took me half of the first day just to stop doing that. So obviously I can see where my weakness is and where I need to learn how to work on it. Definitely keep this little freaking thing away from me and it'll be a lot better off. All right. It's fall. We're getting at. We're in the fourth quarter. We're coming to the finish line for the year. Our fiscal year is coming up. For most of you guys, I bet you it's 12/31. For me, it's 11/30. We bumped our fiscal year 1 month up so we get access to all the auditors and the tax people way ahead of time so we don't have to fight with everybody in January, February. We have an extra month to breathe. So we are already a month in on our fourth quarter. We're getting close. 11/30 is right around that corner. We're going to blink. It's going to be here. What does that mean? Well, you got to close your books. When you close your books, what do you also have to do? For the smart ones, for the ones that are doing the bookkeeping correctly, we have to do a physical inventory count. Now, just like you guys, that's nails on a chalkboard. I hate those words. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It sucks, but it's a necessary evil. I remember, I was 18 years old. I was working for the local lumber company, and we had to count every single thing that we had. Well, since I was in lumber and not inside on the merchandising side, lumber was really easy. We had color-coded everything. It was really, really simple. Inside of 2 hours, we had the entire lumber yard counted. And then we went back and did a double check. Remember, when you do your physical inventory count, you have to have 2 teams. One team counts once. A second team gets a blank slate. They count again, and you compare the notes to make sure the numbers are accurate. That's how you do a true physical inventory count. Don't cheat and have one person go out there and kind of half-ass count it. That's never going to work. That's, you're going to get bad numbers. Bad data in, bad data out. Now you really don't know where your financials are. So you got to have 2 teams completely on their own, and you got to have them go out there and count. I will never forget at that lumberyard company, when we were done with the lumber, they said, go inside, the nuts and bolts aren't accurate. I said, what are you talking about? This lumber company had a nuts and bolts aisle and had every single size nut, thread, bolt, everything. And over the year, everybody had dumped the nuts and the bolts into different bins as it went. We had to completely dump everything out and reload every single bin with what was going to be accurate and what was going to be in there. We were told we were going to get off at 9 p.m. The 5 of us got out of there at 2:30 in the morning. That's how long it took us to just do the nuts and bolts aisle. It was hell. So do I have PTSD off of that? Absolutely. Do I hate physical inventory count? Absolutely, I do. But it's a necessary evil. Small segue here. Want to talk to you guys about Square Coil software and what it does for your companies. If you're the type of guy that's still doing pen and paper and you think you're rocking and rolling, you just might be, but you're not running at the most efficient pace possible for yourself. Imagine doing a report. You want to know how many sales each salesperson did for the entire year. So you sit down and get all your books out, and it takes you 2-3 hours to build this Excel spreadsheet, and you got your answer. But what if you could just click a button and then your 2 or 3 hours are back in your hands and you can evoke change inside of your company for those 2-3 hours versus building a report? That's what Square Coil software does for you. That's what we bring to the table in the way of efficiency. So check us out if you're not using us. When it comes to the physical inventory count, what's going to be best is when you get done with your physical inventory count, you get to apply that to what you had on the books already. If you had 200,000 already and your count came to 210,000, you're going to add 10,000 to that line for your raw materials. That's also going to add 10,000 to your income statement. Remember, assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity. If you're going to bump up one side of the balance sheet, it's going to hit the other side. For you, you might go, great, we made an extra 10 grand. Or you might go, uh-oh, we owe Uncle Sam more taxes on 10 grand. Well, however you want to play it, that's a whole different podcast. But physical inventory count is paramount to making sure that your balance sheet matches and is accurate. So with counting physical inventory count, you got to set it up correctly. Now, for the people that are running Square Coil, it's going to be really simple. You're going to go to records, physical inventory count, click on it, and then download by category department. That's really simple. If you aren't using Square Coil, maybe the same amount of work, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, who knows? You'll hopefully have your entire inventory on an Excel spreadsheet. You're going to want to cut them up into the different departments and then make a little spreadsheet, print them out with a little checkbox next to them. You put quantities in it and hand them out to your team. Say, all right, you guys are going to count all the acrylics. You're going to count the aluminums. You're going to count the vinyl. And we're trying to figure it out. Now, another thing, vinyl. Very difficult to count for physical inventory count, right? Pain in the butt. We mic'd it. We measured the outside circumference at a full roll, measured the empty roll, and then we measured everything in between that and took a percentage to figure out how many square footage we had. It was the only way that we could do this accurately as possible without rolling it out and doing it truly, square foot by square foot. Are you going to roll every vinyl roll out? Absolutely not. You'll ruin the product. But by micing it and taking a mic reading, that was actually the easiest way to do it. So follow our lead on that one. We're pretty darn well. You got your 2 counts. Half match, half don't match. Now what? Do you take the middle of the 2 numbers and call it a day? If you're lazy, yeah. Is it going to be accurate? No, not at all. You can't take the lazy way out. Come on now. You're already doing a physical inventory count. You already did the hard work. You decided you're going to do it. Don't stop here. Make the numbers accurate. So if you have a discrepancy, you got to get a third team. For those who are paying attention, that's a 3. Third team out there, and you want to go ahead and have them count again. Make sure that they labeled it. So one thing that we did after we had like 4 teams go out and count the aluminum one year, and we couldn't figure out what was what, we realized that everybody was looking at things differently. So the night before, we actually have 2 of our main aluminum guys, our metal sheet guys that knew everything, and say, okay, what is that? Like it's 60-61, 2x2 angle. All right, cool. What's this one? And they went step by step and told us what the item was that was sitting on the shelf. Now it wasn't a guessing game. Now what we had to do is measure. That's helped us because we ended up having, I think, 5 teams out there before we finally got 2 numbers that matched. It was because everybody thought it was a different product over a different line. Simple, easy to do. Most sign companies that I see have 900 to 1,100 items on their shelves that they're inventorying. That is so much. That is so much. My favorite company that I ever saw in my entire life, huge company, well over 100. I think they're over 200 employees now. They had 442 items on their inventory sheet. That was it. Every single sign that they built had to be built with those 442 items. Genius. That was genius at its best. They didn't have to keep guessing. They were like, what do we use for this product? What do we use for that product? They only had 400 to pick from. My company has 690, 688, somewhere around there. That's still too much in my mind. Good Lord. If you can't build with 400 items, you're telling me you have to have 200 more items on the shelf before you can build a sign? I got to take arguments on this, but good Lord, that's a lot of product. When you guys are doing your physical inventory count, DNF, or was it DNC, do not count. It's easy. For the stuff you've had on your shelf for more than 2 years you've never touched, DNC, do not count. Just mark it. Write it off, call it a day. There's no reason for you to count all 1,800 items of inventory because you bought something 5 years ago and it's still sitting on your inventory count. Chances are you're never going to use it. You're going to end up throwing it away. Take the hit, be done with it, move on. I clean our inventory out every single year when I do it. I come through and I said, where'd that come from? They said, that was last year's project. I said, DNC. DNC, do not count, do not count. Get out of here. And just clean up my inventory. Am I going to actually physically throw that inventory away? Sometimes I'm not. We have a whole shelf that has already been written off of raw materials. We could build a sign and never actually take any inventory out of our system. We have a shelf for that, but it's clean. It's hidden away. It's somewhere clean. How many of you guys have visited another sign company and it looked like a pack rat? Tripping over material everywhere. Nothing's clean. Couldn't find it. The material that you were saving for that one little project, it's scratched and dented. Should have been thrown out. It's not usable. You got to have an honest conversation with yourself and say, all right, let's throw this out. Let's write it off and let's do our inventory correctly. But if the inventory is done correctly, your books are now accurate. You're going to be a lot better off. Good numbers in, good numbers out. The banks love you. You love yourself. It's a whole lot easier. It's just what you need to do. One of the downsides of owning a business, kind of like paying taxes. It sucks, but we have to. That's why we drive on nice roads. Well, hopefully your town has nice roads. Mine doesn't. San Diego. We're a desert. They think they don't have to repave the roads. Different story. Sorry. But taxes are inevitable. Physical inventory count is inevitable. GAAP accounting needs to be followed. It's one of the things that suck, but do it correctly and your accountants will love you. Talk to you next week.